guys, welcome back to While You Were Cleaning. Today I have some Dollar Tree Christmas DIYs to share with you. All of today's DIYs are using Christmas trees that you can find at the Dollar Tree. They have those taller Christmas trees that come in the red box. They also have some 2-packs of bottle brush trees. And then new this year, they are selling a package of those tiny little mini Christmas trees with the wood base. So I'm going to be using all of those trees in today's video and sharing with you some very simple DIYs that you can do with those to spruce up those trees and use them in your home decor. I have shared similar videos to this one in the past, and I will link those videos at the end of this video, also down in the description box, so you can see all of my other Dollar Tree Christmas tree DIYs. So I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you do, please hit that like button, please comment and subscribe, and we'll go ahead and get into these DIYs. For my first DIY today, I'll be using one of these small houses. You could use one of these or a shadow box. I'll also be using some of these mini trees that come in an 8-pack. And then from my printer, I just printed out the words, "Oh Christmas Tree," on a piece of cardstock. And I'm going to use that to put in the back of this house to cover up the pattern. So I did print it on cardstock so that it was a little bit thicker so you wouldn't be able to see the pattern through it. You could also paint the back of this house and add some lettering with some stencils or some rub-on transfer letters or some stickers, whatever you might have on hand. After cutting out my basic house shape, I did need to take a little bit more off of the edges so that it would fit into the back of the house. So I think it was about a centimeter, the thickness of the side of the house. And so I just took that extra little bit off of each edge of the house. And then you can trim it again if you need to make it fit. Just trim it just a tiny bit at a time. That way you don't have huge gaps around the edge. And then just to make sure that there is none of that blue background showing through, I'm just going to use some of this string or twine that you can find in the hardware section of Dollar Tree. I think it comes in a 100-yard roll. And I'm just adding a little bit of hot glue along that edge and then just pushing that little twine or string in place. And this is just to make sure that all of that blue is covered around the edge, just in case my paper wasn't cut perfectly. You could use some yarn or some other twine, whatever you can find at Dollar Tree or what you have on hand to do this step. And then next, I'm going to use 7 of the houses from that little 8-pack of mini trees, and I'm going to stagger these in the bottom part of my house. So I did 4 along the back row, and I just tried to evenly space those out. I did notice that some of these trees are a little bit taller than others, so I put the taller ones in that back row. And then on the front row, I just alternated and put 3 across the front. Here you can see how that DIY turned out. I really love the look of this, and I love these little mini trees that they got in at Dollar Tree this year. Next, I'm going to be making a tree stand with the outer box from this little drawer that you can find in the Crafter Square items. And I'm going to be applying some stain to this. I just tried to find something that I already had on hand. So you can also water down some brown paint and use that as well, and you would still be able to see the wood grain through that. So I am just using a foam brush and then just using the paper towel there to make sure I don't get it all over my hands. And I did stain the inside of the box as well because I wasn't sure how much of that you'd be able to see once I placed the tree inside of it. So I didn't do as much of the bottom, but I did stain those edges of the inside. And then you'll just have to go back over this and rub off any excess stain just so you can make sure that it dries. For this project, I'll be using one of these larger mini trees that you can find there at Dollar Tree. And then to make it look a little bit fuller, I'll be using a package of these wired garland ties. They come in a 12-pack. So I went ahead and I put the stand on the tree just to hold it up while I'm fluffing it and then adding those garland ties, and then we'll add it to the box in a minute. And with these garland ties, all you need to do is just twist them around that center of the tree and they hold in place just fine. I think I added about 3 to each of these sections. And then I also pushed all of my branches down a little bit. I noticed on these trees from Dollar Tree, because they really don't have very many branches on them, if you push your branches down or you push them up a little bit, or in a tree that I'll be showing you later, I have another way that you can make them look just a little bit fuller. Next, I added some hot glue to the bottom of this tree and the bottom of my box and set it in place. I also used some of the Dollar Tree Jenga blocks and put those in the bottom of the box and glued those in place to make sure that the tree didn't fall over. And then I'm just going to add one of these smaller buffalo check bows to the top of the tree. And then next I'll be adding some of these little berries that I found new this year at Dollar Tree. If you can't find them at Dollar Tree anymore, I know they sell them at other places like Joann's and Hobby Lobby, and they're not very expensive. So these actually came already twisted together in groups of 3, and so I just went ahead and added them to my tree in that way. They are not glued together in groups of 3 though, so if you did want to pull them apart and add them one at a time, you could do that as well. I just added them in the groups of 3. I like to do things in groups of 3 anyways, so it worked out just fine. And then I just staggered them all over my tree. I put them on the back of the tree as well, and one package I think filled out this tree really well. And here's how that tree DIY looks all finished. I really love the natural look of adding these berries to the tree. You could also add some pine cones. They have mini pine cones at Dollar Tree right now, or some fairy lights. And then of course the wooden box. I just really love the way that this whole tree came together. Next, I'm going to share a tree garland with you all, and I did recently share this in my garland DIY video, but I used these trees, and they have 2 different types of these green trees. One of them is a little bit fluffier than the other, and I think I used 3 or 4 packages of these for this garland DIY, but I just spaced them about 10 inches apart on this twine. Again, this is the twine that you can find in the hardware section at Dollar Tree, and all you have to do is push the string into the tree and it holds in place just fine. I think because these trees are the ones that are a little bit fluffier, you don't have to tie them in place or anything. I just think that it makes a really fun, unique garland that you can use anywhere in your home. Next, I have an ornament DIY for you using some of this fake snow that you can find there at Dollar Tree. I went ahead and picked up this glittery one, and then also the one that's the mini styrofoam pieces, and then some more of these mini Christmas trees. First, I added some of the styrofoam snow to this ornament. I just made a funnel out of a piece of cardboard to make it a little bit easier to get in there. And then I added some of the glittery fake snow as well. And that one didn't slide in as well, so I had to push it down in there with my scissors. For some reason, it was getting stuck in the funnel. And then I just shook that together a little bit so that all of the snow was mixed together. And then I added 3 of those mini trees, and I did make a few of these, and I really love the way that they look. You can also find some different shapes of ornaments or DIY ornaments there at Dollar Tree, some big globe ones as well. So if you can't find this shape, they do have some other options there in the store. And my last DIY today, I think, is my favorite. I picked up this 3-pack of cups there at Dollar Tree, and then I'm going to use some of this cement patch, which this is the only cement that I had on hand in my home, so just use whatever you might have or go pick up something cheap. This one took a little bit longer to dry, so I did add some into my cup, and I made this probably about 3 inches, 2.5 to 3 inches deep in the cup, and I just slowly added in some water until I got the consistency that I wanted for this cement. And you're going to want it to be kind of putty-like where maybe you could squeeze it and it would hold together a little bit like Play-Doh, not too liquidy, or it's just gonna take forever to dry. So here you can see the consistency that I brought my cement to, and then we're going to be adding one of those taller mini trees that you can find at Dollar Tree. Just make sure you place your tree right there in the center, and then to make sure that this doesn't fall over or go off center, I used some hot glue and some popsicle sticks to brace up the tree on each side. I just glued right onto the cup, and then I added some extra popsicle sticks on top of those other popsicle sticks. And this is just holding the tree up straight. So then once your cement is dry, mine took a little bit of time, you're going to have to maneuver that cup off of your cement. It does separate from the cement. It is just kind of a thicker cup, and so it was hard to work with to get it off. I was hoping that I could find some of the paper snack cups there in the store, but I didn't see any out right now. So if you know what I'm talking about, they're a little bit shorter and wider snack cups. They're about this same shape. So those would also work really well for this project. And then also with this tree, I went ahead and I fluffed the tree and I added some more of those garland ties, a whole other package of those garland ties to this tree as well. Just added 2 or 3 in between each set of branches just to fill it out. And then I wanted to also show you a trick that I like to use to make these trees look a little bit more like they're a little bit fuller. And what I like to do to make these look fuller is turn up the last 1.5 inches or so of each of the branches. And this just makes it so that you can't see straight through the tree as much, and just really makes the tree look a lot better. Lastly, I'm just going to add a very simple bow to the top of this tree using this ribbon that I found at Dollar Tree. I cut about 18 to 24 inches off from this spool of ribbon and then just tied a very simple bow. I went ahead and glued this in place at the peak of my tree, and then I did leave these tails hanging pretty long off of the ends of the ribbon. I like the way that those look on the tree. And here's how that DIY turned out. I really love, again, the natural look of this. I didn't add a lot to it. You, of course, could add some other things to it, but the main star is this cement base, which cement bases on trees are very popular this Christmas season. Okay, so those are all of the DIYs that I had to share with you in today's video. Again, make sure you check out my other DIYs that I have done with Dollar Tree Christmas trees. Let me know down in the comments which of these DIYs was your favorite, and thank you all so much for watching today. Bye!